launched Indian Super League, which is the India's premier football league. Before his role with Reliance Group, Mr. G. Srini was heading the marketing and sponsorship sales for the BCCI, that is Board of Control for Cricket in India, where he worked on the Indian Premier League, that is IPL. During his tenure for 3 years, he helped formulate the brand strategy for IPL, working closely with the 8 franchise partners on all commercial and sponsorship elements. Mr. G. Srini has also worked with Nike, where he led the football category business. He was the mind behind the Nike traffic jam ad, which is recalled as one of the best ads in India till date. Mr. G. Srini began his journey in sports with ESPN, wherein he worked on the brand marketing team, eventually moving to the business development and then creating customized sporting events for almost 5 years. I invite Mr. G. Srinivasan for sharing his insights on career in sports for students, specializing in marketing, finance, and HR. Over to you, Mr. G. Srini.
Thank you so much. Slightly longish introduction, I'm sorry, but
my pleasure, sir. The achievements demanded, sir.
So I will just share my screen. Can you see is my screen visible? Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So without further ado, thank you so much for the introduction, sir. And this will take about 20 to 25 minutes. Then we'll open the floor for as many questions as you might have on this outstanding topic. So Sportjo, as the name suggests, is sports plus jobs. But what we're going to talk about right now is careers in sport. I believe I've spoken to a few of your colleagues in other sort of branches who sort of led us saying that we should do an exclusive session for your institute as well. So sir has already given me, given you guys a longish background, so won't bore you too much with that. But one thing I'd like to sort of point out is since I was a kid, since as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to work in sports. This was since I was maybe 5-6 years old. I didn't know how to. For me, sports was about playing a lot, learning and understanding more about the games, about the game itself. And I started my career just like any normal person. I did my graduation in chemistry, and then from St. Stephen's College. Then I did my MBA from IMT Ghaziabad, and then I worked in advertising for 4 years. But I was very, very clear that I wanted to be associated with sport, and then I somehow found my way through, and it's been outstanding for the last 20 years. But you know what? I was probably one of the very few lucky ones who managed to find their way in. So as an employer for the last 12 to 13 years, we've struggled to find people. We've struggled to find good people in spite of millions being available to you, right? Millions and millions being available to saying, I want to work in sports. People want to work in sports, employers want to hire, but it just doesn't match. And I was really perplexed as to why does that happen. So, I was speaking to somebody the other day, a potential investor in our company, who asked me, why did you quit at the peak of your career? I said, because till such time I have time, I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference to get more and more people working in this wonderful industry, which has given us so much. So I hear a lot of people come to me and say, I'm passionate about sports and I will do anything, right? And this is exactly what I hear, verbatim. Now, if you can't walk into a bank and say, I will do anything, you still have to figure out what you need to do, what the job is, and there are certain expectations against that role. And understandably, this is there in case of sports because there's one element called emotion which is attached to it. And day after tomorrow, when the IPL starts, I think it's a little more than what we watched against England versus Australia last night, right? We watched the match as a match, but when IPL starts, there will be a little bit of emotion involved in that because you would want your team to win, your favorite player to play well. So what differentiates sports from a lot of other verticals is emotion. And which is why people say, I want to do anything. They're not wrong in saying that. However, the objective of Sportjo is to ensure that we demystify the world of sport and ensure that people find their purpose if it is sport, and we help them navigate that to the destination that they want to. So I would request you to just look at your chat boxes and answer a question for me. How many different types of job verticals do you think sports has? And how many roles? By verticals, I mean sales, marketing, finance, operations, etc. And how many roles within sales, for example, sponsorship, airtime sales, digital sales, etc. So just if you could just type on your uh, on your chat boxes. One sec. Why can't I? Just type example. It's okay. There are no right or wrong answers here. I'll give the answer in a couple of slides. Anyone? Come on, guys. No one. Have you guys understood? So by verticals, I mean sales, marketing, finance, operations, etc. And within roles within each of those. No problem. I'll come back to this. So how many roles does operations offer? What kind of roles? For example, one of them I'll give you. Can I just request you to type it in your chat box, please? I can see someone raising the hand. Sumant has said 14. 14 verticals, not bad, very close. Naman Pandey, 15 to 20. 15 to 20, what, Naman? Verticals or roles? Verticals, okay. Good, not bad, not bad, almost close. I mean, one of the very few people across all the webinars that we've done who've said right. Anmol is also absolutely right, 20 plus, very good. So what kind of roles does operations offer? I'll give you one example. For example, travel and logistics comes under operations. So what else does operations offer in your opinion? Just type your answers here. And it's okay, need not be right or wrong. I'll give you all these answers in 5 minutes. Anyone? Analytics. Sumant, not exactly analytics. Analytics is a separate field. It doesn't come under operations. Store functions, yeah, possibly. Samrat. Okay, let's move on to the next one. We're getting the drift, right? So which non-cricket franchise has the highest following on digital? Which non-cricket Indian franchise? Non-cricket, huh? Anyone? Yeah, Naman, I'm talking about ISL is the league. I'm talking about which franchise? Indu Satish, I'm sure you're a Kerala Blasters fan. I'm absolutely right. Kerala, absolutely. Aman, CSK is a cricket franchise and non-cricket franchise. So very good. So you get the drift, right? So if you basically, the questions I asked you was how many verticals there are for an overall knowledge of sport, how many verticals, how many roles in operations, if you want to specialize in operations, how many in digital, which clubs in digital, and you've sort of answered that well. So you get the drift, right? So we'll just come to these answers in a bit. So the Indian sports ecosystem right now has over 100 companies, right? These comprise of broadcasters like Sony, Star, Hotstar, Fan Code, which sort of is showcase the Caribbean Premier League. There are clubs across cricket, football, kabaddi, badminton, wrestling, fantasy and gaming, which come up in a big way. Dream 11 is the sponsor of the massive event, which is going to start day after tomorrow. There are 56 federations in India, which look after the development of each of those sports. Data and analytics, which sort of are the epicenter of most decisions that are made these days. Brands like Hero Apollo, which have a sporting department, who invest in sports properties. There are corporates like Reliance, JSW, Tata's, who invest in sports as part of corporate social responsibility. Agencies, digital agencies, athlete marketing agencies, who support this entire ecosystem. content and media, we've seen how important that is, especially during the pandemic, and of course, rights holders. So the Indian ecosystem comprises of over 100 companies with this. So over the last 2 years, there have been over 100,000 Google searches with 70 different combinations. Yeah, working in sports in India, jobs in sports in India, sports jobs in India, sports management in India. And the result has been zero. Not even one website which tells you how do you go about it, what all does it take and how do you go about it. That's why our contribution of sports in India to employment is we are way behind global. The sports market in India at the end of 2018 was over 7,000 crores. It's over $1 billion, right? It's moved from being a sector to an industry. But if you want to work in sports, whom do you ask? Where do you go? Absolutely nothing. This is precisely the reason why we sort of started Sportjo. So as part of a research that we did with KPMG, there are approximately 30,000 jobs in sports in India, right? Divided between the amateur and the professional categories. Needless to say, this number will continue to grow with a CAGR of at least 6% year on year, barring one bad year, which is 2021. Of these, 18,000 jobs are in the amateur segment, which sort of make it the foundation as we move to the professional sector. Professional, I've already shown you the chart. It's a couple of slides back, which consists of companies like those. Answer to the first part of my question, most of you were absolutely right. There are over 20 verticals. If you slice and dice further, this goes up to 30 as well. Whether it's operations, sales, digital, marketing, presenter, sports tech, esports, gaming, etc. I mean, there are loads and loads of these, right? And over 50 plus job roles. Yeah. Again, if you slice and dice and detail it out even more, this number can go even up to 100. Yeah. So answer to the second question, what are the various things in operation? Ticketing, very, very important, because unless you sell tickets, it's a good source of revenue. Not that much in India, but yes, it is a big one. Companies like Book My Shows have made their businesses on ticketing, not just on sporting events. Venue management is what happens in the venue. You know, if it's a regular T20 match, like an IPL match in a small stadium like Mumbai, it does require about 3,000 to 4,000 people to run that one match, including everybody, police, everyone. But if you move to a bigger stadium like a Kolkata, which has 70,000 capacity, the number goes up to 6,500 to manage one match. Trust me. And all these guys are sort of working as part of venue management. Match operations, they run the match, accreditations, people wearing those badges running around while the match is happening. You must have seen who figure out who is allowed in which area to ensure smooth operation of the game, managing the event, entertainment, which has become an integral part of sport these days. Unfortunately, not much this year. Hospitality, where you have to pay a lot more to get premium seats and F&B along with your tickets. So these are just a few that I've listed. I've listed manager and analyst, but there are multiple hierarchies here as well. And there are companies which do their entire business is CRM. Sports tech, gaming and esports, which is coming up in a big way. There are technical roles within the sport, and loads and loads of roles. So what are the critical skills required to work in sports? We believe that passion for sports is a given. Understanding of the sport is really important. Just by saying I watched England Australia till the last ball, excellent batting by Maxwell and Carey yesterday. They won the match. That's fine. But a little more than that. What will happen what would have happened if a floodlight would have gone off, right? Or two floodlights would have gone off. What would have happened if it would have rained? Say, especially in a tournament, right, where it affects not just this match but a lot of other teams as well. So understanding of sports is really important. Understanding the business of sport is also equally important, which is Dream 11 spent 224 crore for IPL. How much will they pay for football if they were to become a title sponsor? How much will they pay for kabaddi? How much will they pay for badminton? The number keeps going down, right? Why are they paying how much they're paying? That's really, really crucial. Sports is about teams, so you need to be a team player. You need to have good networking skills, not just on LinkedIn, but having meaningful conversations with people in the industry by showing what you've done, what you intend to do with examples. Communication and hard work, of course, are given. And of course, because sports is dynamic, you need to have a solution-oriented mindset. All the problems that I mentioned, floodlight goes off, this is what I'll do. Crowd trouble in the stand, this is what I will do. This is whom I'll speak to first. If I can't find that person, I'll speak to Y. If I don't find them, I'll speak to Z, like that. It's a common myth that sports does not pay well at all. Not really true. It is quite similar to most industries, barring banking, finance, etc., which are outliers anyway. So if you work in sports, you do well, you will meet all your expectations. I think the salaries are comparable to most industries. Take the example of a fresher who, like Sandeep, who's played cricket all his life, played for state, and now wants to work. He's really passionate, but he suffers from the "I will do anything" syndrome in cricket, right? Does not know what roles, jobs exist, what he will do in those situations, and wants an internship where he can at least understand what roles, understand the basics so that he can grow in his career. And look at the employer perspective. They don't have any, there's nothing common between the two. So why will employers even hire? Take for example, Shelly, who works in FMCG in sales. If she wants to enter sports, how do you enter? Are the principles the same? Sales has, FMCG has wholesalers, distributors, retailers, resellers. Are they same in sports? They're not there in sports. So what are the fundamentals of sales, right? Does not know whom to speak to. Employers always want a fresh perspective, but they don't get candidates who can understand what their real life business problems are and don't have time at all. So again, no, absolutely, even at the mid level, there is absolutely no convergence. That's why we decided to form Sporjo, a company which assesses, counsels, trains, and places the right people to the right jobs, right? Through a process which is meritocratic, scientific, and objective. We want to be the change that we want to see in this world and not just sit on the sidelines and watch. Our mission is to transform passion to become a profession in sports and create a ecosystem of at least 500,000 people to support the Indian industry over the next 10 years. As I mentioned, passion is an integral part, but the Sportjo formula is passion plus personality plus proficiency. Personality, because not everyone is suitable for every kind of role. Every individual is different. So what is it that you bring to the table that will match you to the right job? And proficiency is something what employers hire you for. And that's exactly what you need to continue to build as you move through your career. So these two, we believe, are ingredients along with passion, which are equal to not just one job, but in a complete career in sports. So just I want to show you a small video on how the Sportjo process works.
Dreamt of working in sports? Get the Sportjo advantage and race ahead of the pack. To start off, make your way to sportjo.com and take a unique test. This test takes into account your passion, proficiency, and personality to calculate a unique score that will help you determine possible roles you are best suited for. After the test comes your opportunity to consult with some of the leading personalities in the field. These one-on-one sessions with industry experts will help you understand your strengths and areas to improve. Training time. Based on your unique test score and expert advice, you are matched to highly practical Sportjo training modules that cover all the skills you need in your chosen track. What's more, you'll get a chance to work on real-life projects and understand the practical applications of the skills you've picked up and honed. Armed with your unique test score, expert consultation, and practical training, you are now better equipped to apply for a job of your liking and the one that's most suited to your abilities. That's it. You're now prepared to kick off your sports journey with your renewed Sportjo Mojo.
So step 0, as we call it, is registration. Very, very important because we really crunch lead times here and ensure that the right candidate is mapped to the right role, right? If you're crazy about basketball, we'll first try and match you to a job in basketball. If it doesn't exist, we'll move to other sports. So we ask a lot of questions. We take the CV and a couple of rounds of interviews out of the equation. And collect a lot of information. What's your favorite sport? What's your favorite sports person? Favorite sporting moment, etc., which are all asked in the first 2 rounds of interviews. We collect all this, and our algorithm at the back end can collect all this information and is smart enough to match you to the right company. Step 1 is called Sport Score, which is a proprietary test divided into 3 parts. Part of the Sportjo formula, which is passion, personality, and proficiency. Passion is fairly straightforward. Personality, we can map you to the right role, and proficiency, which is questions in sales, marketing, etc., with a lens of sport. For example, if you are interested in sales, you should know which brand is there on the front of Chennai Super Kings, which is going to start in IPL, right? So this is what a report looks like. This is the passion score, proficiency score, and a personality score. With this personality score, we mapped it to various roles. May either be suited for operations or marketing, right? So, so this sort of helps you. It's a difference between, where I stand vis-a-vis I think I'm good at it. So it gives you immense self-awareness. And it's a third-party evaluation, right? It comes with completely no biases at all. So hundreds of people have taken our test, and why not you just hear from one of them?
So the Sporjo test measures three things: passion, proficiency, and personality. And I think personally, I think that passion and proficiency are things that are subjective and relative. You can't know for sure that, hey, I'm really good at this, I'm really good at that. You can believe so, you may be good where you are, but there may be somebody much better, or maybe you're actually much ahead of what you think you are. Personality is the only thing that you can actually accurately measure because you know yourself better than anyone. And from what I saw from my test results, the personality depiction of my personality was pretty much spot on. That's why I think that this test can be given a lot of credibility because I have given personality tests before for fun and for other reasons as well. And it's not always been the most accurate depiction. So I was happy with that. Therefore, I think that one could give this test a lot of credibility. I did get two options for which verticals I'd be suited for. One which I thought I was, and one which was quite a surprise to me, which was a commentator in sports broadcast. But come back to the point of personality. Since it was able to describe my personality, I do give this test a lot of credit. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else Sportjo will have to offer. So yeah, I would definitely recommend giving the test. It's a great eye opener, and sometimes it's just bringing you back to reality, because there are things but sometimes when you read them, hear them out loud, as people say, it sort of makes you realize them a bit more, and then you can work towards improving them or, further strengthening your strength.
So you've collected data, you've taken the test, you know which field you're likely to succeed in. We then put you in front of counselors who've been there, done that in that field. It's found out that you'll be good at sales. You speak to someone who's been there, who's been doing sales in the sports industry for 12 to 15 years, right? What they give you is exclusive counseling, immense guidance, and a clear action plan on what you need to build personally as well as professionally. The next part is called Sport Prep, which is not a course, but an online module. It's more like a self-help module, between 3 and 5 minutes per module, multiplied by 20 for digital, about 12, 15 for athlete representation, etc. This has been curated by industry experts themselves. This is stuff that they do in office pretty much every day. For example, one will be on sales for a club, one will be on sales for a federation, one will be on sales for a league, etc. Now, all this is sales only. But how do you deal with each of these will make candidates a lot more job ready. The industry experts will feature in it, giving it a lot of credibility as well. So the next part is really sought after, which is like an internship, a 2-month internship, not a fictitious case study, but what really happens in these companies. These are real-time challenges where candidates will get hands-on experience on working on these. For example, if it is a kabaddi team, saying how do you increase ticket sales for that local kabaddi team, and that's the problem that you will actually work on, not how do you better the IPL sales or comparison of the IPL vis-a-vis the EPL business models. So, or if you're say working for Chennai, how do you increase fan bases, the fan base for Chennai, which is not predominantly a football state, right? So things like these. Now you've been evaluated by Sportjo, evaluated by an industry expert, and in this part you are evaluated by the industry itself. So it's absolutely 3 different people evaluating a candidate, which will give the candidate a lot more self-awareness and rich and meaningful data to the employer. Right now we're working with a lot of companies. IPL is on, and right now pretty much inside a bubble. So we passed IPL this year, and we'll work with them for the next edition. Working with a lot of football teams right now. Already working on something for Chennai FC, and all the others will follow suit once it starts. Already hired interns for Sports for All, for Tata Trusts, and we have some full-time roles as well. Again, because of COVID, the market is a little bit slow, but we're pretty sure that it's going to bounce back pretty soon, and we will be working with almost all 100 companies that exist in India. So look at Sandeep's journey. Found out that he's interested in sales, worked on the consulting bit, took the training, took the project, and then applied to sales roles in various companies that he's ready to be suited for. Shelly found out while she's working in sales in FMCG, found out that she's working in digital. So will she have to start from zero? Will she have to be an intern or a management trainee? Absolutely not. You take the consulting piece, they tell you what you need to prepare on, take the online module and do a project with a company which is already there in the field. If they find the project well, they might actually hire you, right? And your process to even change verticals becomes a lot easier. So just a few questions I will answer before I open it up for all of you. Is Sportjo a paid service? Yes, it is a paid service. Are all the steps mandatory? No, all the steps are not. The first step of registration and taking the test is mandatory, because without a base, we will not be able to assess anyone well. Is a job guaranteed at the end of sports journey? Absolutely not, because there are more factors that come into play, which is the company's match with you, the personality, etc. But what is really guaranteed is the fact that you have maybe at least a 60-70% better chance of getting a job with Sporjo than without Sporjo, because you are job ready. You need to be from a sports background. You have to have relevant experience in sports. I don't. I graduated in chemistry, then did my MBA in marketing. I am not. I am a good example. A lot of people who work in the industry are not from a sports background. In fact, majority of them are not from a sports background. And relevant experience in sports is always better, but you have to start somewhere, right? So it's, again, not necessary. Sports job market in COVID, as I mentioned a little while back, the hiring is a bit slow. Some people have frozen their hiring also due to obvious reasons. But sports was the first thing to start during COVID. The Bundesliga, Premier League, NBA, all these have sort of started in COVID, and because sports, and when those things were not there, we realized their importance. So I believe once things become better or start becoming better from what they are these days, once a vaccine is found, I think the sports job market will rebound pretty hard, and at that time, people like us will be really ready to provide quality candidates to companies. Questions, please. What I would request you guys is to just type your question on the chat box, and I will answer each one of them.
If they want, they can read and interact.
How to get it's not Sumant Reddivari. It's not, so he's asking how to get Spojo services. It's not available on the Play Store. You can put the questions so that everybody can see it, Sumant.
See, Mr. Srinivas, what has been, there is some issues in chat box. So
Okay.
we have did it in earlier sessions.
No
So
problem.
now when you are, so we enabled it only for the host to see.
No problem, sir. I will.
If you want, they can.
Yeah, I will read out the question.
So what else?
I will read out the person's name and the question, sir.
Yeah,
So Sumant's
or
asking.
else what we can do is we can raise the hand and ask.
That's also possible, sir. That's also possible. But yeah, that's also possible. So I'll just answer Sumant's question. How to get Sporjo services? It's not available on Play Store. You'll have to log on to a website. It's not an app, Sumant, and all the details are clearly mentioned there. We chose not to be an app because purely because of volumes. So you can go to our website, which is sporjo.com, and see it there. Chinmay Sharma, I'm into SEO content writing since about 2 years. What are the skills I need to brush up in specific? In specific, what Chinmay? Yes, Chinmay, go on. Speak, please. Chinmay, I can't hear you. One sec. I'm sorry, Chinmay, I can't hear you. Okay, so I'll just so you're into SEO content writing for about 2 years. Pretty much everybody needs SEO content now, whether it's a club, a team, an athlete, everyone. And SEO, I mean, you don't need to brush up on any skills. But what I would request is, this is your proficiency right now. Continue to build it as you move ahead in your career. You need to, from SEO, you should move to what kind of from SEO, which is a part of content, to content creation. From content creation to different types of content creation, whether it's video, whether it's audio, whether it is whether it is text, whether it is anything else. So what I'm saying is continue to build your proficiency as you move along, and don't just sort of stick to SEO. Indu Satish, you want to be a brand manager. How do I enter sports? Indu, there are lots and lots of options. Unfortunately, it's slightly lesser on the brand side. So right now, the majority of the roles that exist are in digital operations, athlete representation, and sales. So I'm not saying those jobs are not there, but in the current scenario, etc., these are the jobs that do not get hired right now, do not get advertised as of now. So I mean, if you want to enter sports, as I told you, with Sporjo, your chances increase quite a lot. So if you want to be a brand manager, you need to figure out what part do you want to do. You want to work on the digital brand. You want to work on the actual brand in terms of above the line activity, which does not happen too much in sports because they want to stick to clear and direct communication. You need to see what kind of role are you suited for within brand as well. You want to work in a club, you want to work in a league, you want to work in a federation, because the objectives of all of them are different. So you'll have to see what kind of role matches you, where you are at that point in time, and then decide and take a call. I hope I've answered your question. Anyone else? DK Bindu, our fields keep changing. As such, what do I have to do in regards to personal development when it comes to sports coordinator position in the coming years? It's a very different Bindu, if I may sort of say so. It's yes, you're right. Fields keep changing, and in terms of personal development, you need to continue to build it. There is nobody else who can build personal development for you. But that's something that you need to sort of keep in mind. Who's the person? Who's the manager of say a kabaddi team? What are their backgrounds? You can see it on LinkedIn now, right? What are the backgrounds? What have they worked on? Kind of work that they've done, etc. And see if you have those necessary skills, because they've been hired for a certain reason. So if you have those skills, great, continue to enhance them. If you don't have them, start building it. So if you look at a sports coordinator position, it's like a team manager. I'm assuming that's what you're calling it, which means, again, as I mentioned, understanding the sport is really, really crucial, right? You need to be very, very good at operations in that sport, because that's what you need to have. You need to be very good. You need to have very good people skills. You need to be a very people person, so that, because everything is happening so fast, tempers just flare when a sports event is happening. It happens more off pitch than on pitch. So you need to be a people person. So it's things like these which you need to work on. If you're having it, great, enhance it. If you don't, continue to build it, please. Bindu, how can I see myself in the coming 5 years if I choose the sports organization? Bindu, I mean, this is what the organization will ask you in an interview, saying, where do you see yourself in 5 years if you choose an organization? I think what sports teaches you right now are sports. Most companies in sports have very, very lean teams. So you end up doing more than one thing there. If you're doing digital content, you end up doing one more thing as well, or one or two more things as well, because they are not sort of big companies like, say, Star, for example, or Reliance, where I used to work. So you end up learning a lot more than what you signed up for. So in 5 years, I think the learning that you will get in sports is equal to 10 to 12 years that you get in most other companies. That's purely my personal experience. And this is what someone who came on our webinar, the Vivek Sethia, who's the CEO of India on Track, also said on our webinar, saying that in 10 years in sports, he had presented to the CEOs of the Premier League, the CEO of the La Liga, etc. He says, in other jobs, it would have taken me 17 to 18 years to because there are a lot more people there also, right? But here, because there are not too many people right now, the opportunities to grow are much more and faster. Sumant, I've been in sports career as a player for more than 14 years and a national player, still passionate in making sports as a career. Should I enter sports career as a profession? I mean, if that is your calling, why not? Yeah, absolutely, why not? And just don't have to play, to be in sport. You can do. I mean, I spoke about 50 other roles which you can do in sports, right? So if your understanding of the sport is very good, people whom you can network with, people whom you've played with, right? And people in the federation, etc. I'm sure you can do very well as a profession. I mean, you can uh, do very, very well in that as a profession also. So why not? Absolutely, why not? And you know what? Whatever, I mean, education is really important. What I'm not, please, I mean, just to be very, very clear, I'm not saying the education that you're gaining will always help you. That is the foundation for where you are, right? I did chemistry. Did it help me somewhere? May not be chemistry directly, but right. But the kind of people I studied with, the people from whom I learned, you learn a lot more than chemistry itself. Then I did my MBA in marketing. Did it help me? Absolutely helped me, right? Because the fundamentals sort of became very, very clear, laid a foundation, and I slowly continued to build on it, whether it's marketing, sales, operations, business. Eventually, I reached leadership. So anything you study will always augment things. It's never going to go away. If you've done your MBA, it is, there's no way it will not help you in the future. At some places, it's it will sort of come back to help you. So in my opinion, I think you definitely should. Samrat, 6 years of experience in fashion retail planning, but I want to switch to channel or broadcast marketing. Where should I start? I mean, the answer, I mean, I wouldn't say it out loud, but the answer is Sporjo. So, I mean, we haven't sort of started our marketing module right now. It'll start on the first week of December, and you can sort of just take that module and then start applying to companies. So, if you look at fashion retail planning, I'm sure you're aware how Puma, Adidas, etc. these guys operate. You can definitely shift to marketing as well within those companies also, because having knowledge of the product and retail is really, really important in a lot of things. You could even join manufacturers like maybe Under Armour, right? And you could sort of do well there. And Under Armour, not just on the product side, but on the marketing side as well. So Under Armour is one of our partners who will give us projects as well. So I hope I've answered your question, Samrat. Sumant, do you have do you need a degree of physical education? No, Sumant, you don't need any degree. If you get it, it's great. If not, absolutely, I mean, just let it be. Because what I'm saying is the knowledge that you have and the position that you are in at the moment, studying in a prestigious institute, doing your MBA, will hold you in good stead even for making a career in sports. Siddharth Kulkarni, right? I'm made for cricket. My interesting area is sales and marketing. Way to make my career. Siddharth, again, jobs in cricket are fewer than other sports, but there is like a ocean of difference between sales and marketing, by the way, right? I did marketing for kitna 18 17 about 14 years before I took sales also, and I did sales and marketing together. So there's a massive gap between sales and marketing. You need to decide which one you want to work in, right? Or rather, what I say is take the test. You'll find out which one are you more suited for, or neither. This is what you think. But there could be multiple other jobs like cricket operations, right? Or venue operations in cricket, right? And but like you're saying, you're made for cricket. Please understand that if you're working on a cricket match, you'll not be able to watch it at all. You'll only work in it. When I used to work in the IPL, max, unless I'm sitting with a client and watching the match, a sponsor, and watching the match, I would see about 4 overs of the 40 in an IPL match. And everybody says, "Oh, you work for IPL, you must be seeing all the matches." That's not the reality, right? Because if you're seeing the match, which means you're not doing work. So so there is a lot of work there, and like I'm telling you, 4 out of 40, 10%. I used to go back to the hotel at 12 o'clock, watch the highlights again and again, seeing what have I missed, and then sort of figure and then sort of move forward. So what I suggest in your case, Siddharth, is between sales and marketing, figure out what you want to do, whether it is sales and marketing at all. But there are more than enough roles in cricket, even not at the professional level, but at the amateur level for sure. Anyone else? Come on, guys. Any other questions?
Anyone, if he has or she has any question, please raise your hand or type in the chat. Although I'm not able to see the chat, Mr. Srini is able to see. Akhilesh and other co-host Dr. Amit may be able to see. You can also raise your hand and interact with Mr. Srini. But this has been a very interesting session, Mr. Srini. This is altogether a new area which is coming up for the management students to take up their careers.
Absolutely, sir. There's a question from Anmol Singh. COVID effects in the sports industry or post-COVID job scenario. Like I mentioned, a lot of jobs were in operations, and with events not happening, everyone thinks the jobs will go down to zero, but that's not the case. What happens is, if the match is happening in the stadium in a different environment without any crowds, the number of people in venue management will reduce, but the number of people in digital will increase because they're working remotely, right? For them, they just need to see the match and create content. Fan engagement, which used to happen at the venue, will now translate to fan engagement on the TV and on your phones, right? Because earlier that wasn't paid too much attention to. Health and safety people at the venue, at the hotels, etc., taking care of players will start to exist now. It wasn't there earlier, which means COVID testing every 48 hours, the results, processing, ensuring that the bubble is not breached, etc. So COVID has the good part about COVID is that all the advancements that would have seen 3-4 years, we will probably see it in 1 year in COVID because of COVID. Everything is sort of fast tracked. Nobody thought of stadiums without crowd, right? Because it's such an integral part of sport. Now, ab hai to hai, you can't help it. So what I believe is once this has happened, a lot of people were uncertain. Some companies have not paid salaries. Some of them have cut salaries. Some of them have even laid off people, which means once events start, they will need people back, right? Which means that's when there will be a demand for a lot more people, a lot more job ready people, not just any people, which means they will want to expand their options as well. Employers will have to expand their options as well. I hope I've answered your question, Anmol. Sumant, what are the platform we should approach in making sports a professional career? The reason why Sporjo was started, Sumant, is because there are no platforms, right? There are absolutely no platforms, and that's why Sporjo started, to say that how will you make and I showed you those slides, right? I mean, not a website which tells you how to work in sports, $1 billion industry. I mean, are we joking? Seriously? Tell me another $1 billion industry where you don't know how to find work in. And there are consultants, there are absolutely people who are specific for that. Why not sports? And that's the reason we sort of started to, I put myself in that position in 1997 when I started. I want to work in sports. Kuch bhi nahi tha. We're in 2020. We moved to 5G and there's still not a website. I mean, what are we talking about? So which is why we said, okay, to hell with everything, let's sort of start this, which will add a lot of value to people who want to make sports their career, and most importantly, transform their lives. Yeah, because you'll be working in something that's so close to your heart. Nityashri, I've done my internship in Decathlon. Very, very good, great company in the retail marketing sector in the sales department. How can I improve my skills as a sales manager in the sports industry? Wonderful, Nityashri. Your experience as sales and retail will really hold you in good stead there when you're applying for a job in the sports industry. But there's a lot more to do with sales. What you've done is you are in the manufacturing stroke retail sector, right? But you could work in Puma, you could work in Adidas, Nike not too much right now, they don't have too many jobs, Nike, and a lot of other local brands as well. If you look at sales per se, there is a lot more in sales. There's sponsorship, right? Which is a completely different animal. There's airtime sales with broadcasters. There's digital sales with people like Hotstar, Fancode, etc. Then there is media rights sales, which is few and far between, which is very, very less. So within sales, what would you want to do? For that, you need to be trained and you need to understand what sort of happens in that field, right? Just because so when you go and apply for a job, the employer asks you, okay, what are you bringing to the table? right? How will you help me? So it is your sales skill which will sort of help there a lot more. And where you'll be an automatic fit is places like Nike, Reebok, etc. But is that what you actually want to do? Because you've already done that, right? So how do you move up in your career is something that you need to figure out. And within that, what skills do you have right now? Which of those can you improve? Which do you need to build to reach where you want to is really, really key. So I think that is pretty crucial. I mean, you may need to sort of, what I say is just go to our website, see if it works. Our last product will be out in the first week of October. Check it out after that. See if it works for you after a couple of months. But very good. I mean, there was a team member in Reliance from our team from Decathlon. Very good kid. He joined us and he was in digital plus sales. So we hired him for digital, and his knowledge of sales came out really, really strongly, and it helps, somewhere in really sorted. And there have been lots of people who've been in touch with me who work in Decathlon, and it's a wonderful company, and I think really highly of Decathlon. I buy a lot of products from there, and I'm in awe of how they train their people and who know so much about their product. Indu Satish, how many months is Sporjo training? It completely depends on you, Indu. People can do it in as little as 2 months, 2.5 months. You can take 6 months also. You don't have to compete with anybody. You can do it at your own pace. You can do it the way you want to. So minimum 2 months, maximum up to you. Any other questions? We still have another 10 minutes to go. If you have any more questions which you think of later, feel free to reach out to us at admin@sporjo.com, which is admin@sporjo.com, and send your questions, please. We'll try and reply to each one of them, to each one of those questions. admin@sporjo.com. If you're really interested in sports, we do a series of webinars with leading personalities in the field of sport. We do it almost every second Sunday. Last weekend we did it with Mustafa Ghaus, CEO of GSW Sports. We've done one with Joy Bhattacharya. We've done one with India on Track CEO Vivek Sethia, and we'll get biggies. You can hear from them directly as to what it takes to work in sports as well. So just keep a lookout on our social handles for those. But if you think of questions as an afterthought, reach out to us on admin@sporjo.com. In the meantime, you can ask me any other question that you might have.
If anyone has any more questions, please raise your hand or type in the chat, whichever way you feel like you can come forward and interact. These are interesting sessions and you are interacting with the Chief Executive Officer of Sporjo. So these opportunities don't come very often. Come forward and speak it out. Ashok, I can see you on my screen if you have any question. Priya, Ariana, Chaya, I can see in fact the students there. If you can come forward, and if you have any questions, do come forward and interact. There have been some very interesting questions and the responses given by Mr. G. Srini clarifying the doubts which the students have.
Bindu has asked a question. In Sporjo, the training session is compulsory for a sports person or non-sports person. It doesn't matter, Bindu. Like I told you, I mean, I'm not from sports, right? And it's designed more for people work from outside the sports industry. because, for anything, you need to grow the universe. If you don't grow the universe, what happens right now is, I'll give you an example. In Reliance, when we're looking to hire someone for the head of marketing for working for all sports, right? Head of marketing, 12 to 15 years, no sports. There should have been a line outside our office, according to me, right? But it took us 15 months to fill that position. 15 months. It's not a joke, right? And that's when I was 100% sure that something like Sporjo will work. Because what does it do for the candidate? It gets the right people to the right jobs, right? And for employers, they want everything quickly, right? I mean, if I was Reliance, I would have said, doesn't matter, get me that guy tomorrow or that lady tomorrow. It really doesn't matter. It's better if you're a non-sports person, right? If you're a sports person, well and good. Your chances are slightly more, but not very different. Like I told you, when I started, so a non-sports person can happily work in any sports. Yes, very, very happily. See, because it's sports, right? It doesn't matter. And I'm a non-sports person, chemistry and marketing, but all my life I've worked in sports, and I've worked very, very well with a lot of people, including sports persons. I've worked with people who've played cricket for India, to Olympic athletes, to all of them. It's just that they're very good at what they do. I am very good at what I do. So we sort of it's a great match. It doesn't matter whether you're from sports or not, as long, like I said, those critical skills that I mentioned. I'll repeat: passionate about sports, understanding of the sport, right? Like, for example, I work with Jatin Paranjpe, who's played cricket for India, is also a national selector now. He and I used to work in Nike. We used to sit right next to each other. My knowledge of cricket, in terms of score statistics, was way more than Jatin. But I can never ever match what he's gained by playing for the country, right? I mean, he's of course brilliant, but in marketing, yeah, it's difficult for him to match. He can obviously catch up after a few years, but for what I have done. So again, I've worked with a lot of Olympic athletes also, right? Who are very good at what they do. I bring different skills. So it's how those skills match and eventually lead to the betterment of the organization. It doesn't matter sport or non-sport. Just yesterday, I was speaking to Viren Praskina, who's the CEO of the Olympic Gold Quest. Viren was a leading hockey player in his time, captain of India, played multiple Olympics. And I was telling him about this. He's like, really, really awesome. So we will collaborate in the future. I was speaking to another Olympic medalist a couple of weeks back. I unfortunately can't take his name, but we are looking to hire for his company right now. If there are no other questions, I would request you to write to us at admin@sporjo.com. If there are no other questions, thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'll just take a minute of yours. In fact, thanks to you. It has been a very intuitive and interesting sessions. We were in fact commonly known areas of sports, the students, and we were knowing that maybe playing sports is one of the careers, maybe coaching, maybe some officiating in some way or the other. But sports offers so many interesting and varied job opportunities, almost 50 plus job roles you have shared. That is quite interesting. It is absolutely interesting, in fact, and the students have this opportunity to make a very good career in this upcoming industry. And that was the reason, in fact, for this, I requested for this session with you. I wanted that the students should have an idea about that beyond the traditional roles and traditional profiles and traditional sectors, there are so many varied opportunities which are available in the area of sports for making careers, which is certainly beyond playing, coaching, etc. So thanks to you for sharing that to our students. May I request Dr. Joshi, if he is there, to please propose a vote of thanks. Our academic coordinator, Dr. Amit Joshi, sir.
Yes. Hi, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Kindly excuse me for not switching on the video, because otherwise the voice is going to get tampered.
Please go ahead, sir.
Well, sir, it cannot be more fascinating Mr. G. Srinivasan, than to pursue your passion and your interest and at the same time get paid for it. It is indeed a great privilege and honor to have Mr. G. Srinivasan in this webinar. On behalf of IBS-XY University, Dehradun, I extend my gratitude to you. The way you have explained the subject was amazing. I'm sure each participant is willing to learn and develop under your guidance. We thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule. Thank you so much. I also take this opportunity to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Madhu Vinay, for his strategic initiative and direction. I thank the web series convener, Dr. Sanjeev Malviya, technical team, Mr. Himanshu and Mr. Akhilesh, student coordinators, Manishankar and Ajay. Thank you. Last but not the least, I thank the wonderful participants. Stay blessed, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Joshi. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Mr. G. Srini, once again. It has been a very interesting session. We thank you for this memorable session, and certainly I just recall that formula which you have given: passion, personality, and proficiency.
Absolutely.
I think that is a formula for making careers into any of the fields. But certainly that is a very valid thing which you have pointed. Thank you, sir. It was a memorable session. We certainly hope that the students will gain out of it, and we also hope that you will join us again in near future.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. And all of you, stay safe, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikita, also. Thank you, sir.
May I close the session, sir?
Yes, Akhilesh, thank you.